glad to have you here with us on the Retirement Solution with financial advisor John Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital, who is here to share with you insight on what you need to be thinking about as you get closer to your retirement. So as you are listening, remember that you can reach out to begin the conversation with John and his team. Find us at retirementsolutionshow.com. We talk about being a certain age when you're thinking about retirement or that retirement goal line. But really, there's lots of ages that we need to consider in our retirement. First age, though, for me, the first question I'm always curious, for somebody who is thinking about they need help, whether or not they have a financial advisor for growth, they've DIY'd it, but they know retirement's a different game, and so they want to get help in that space. What's the time frame that they should be seeking help then?
Yeah, so there's a lot of us out there that, we have good jobs, we make good incomes, we put that money in our 401k, we always max it out, we get the matches as much as we can, and we're probably okay, maybe until we get closer to either 3 to 5 years before retirement, or there's kind of a magic number around 59 and a half. Now, why is that? Because when we get to 59 and a half, the government and the IRS, the tax code, takes some handcuffs off. And it allows us to do many different things with our own money. If you look at that 401k, many different things that otherwise they would have penalized us for. So when you turn 59 and a half, you can keep your money in that 401k like you've always done it, or you could actually decide to move that money out of there and put it in your own IRA through what they call an in-service withdrawal. In-service just means you're staying in service with your company. You're not leaving. You're not retiring. You're not moving on to somewhere else. You're just in service, and you're taking a withdrawal of your money without taxation and rolling it into your own IRA. Now, people ask me all the time, John, why on earth would I do this? Well, some of those 401ks out there are great. They offer really low-cost options like, Fidelity-type funds or Charles Schwab-type funds, or some of my favorite are Vanguard-type funds because they're super inexpensive. But you may want to decide to roll it out into your own IRA because many times the costs are actually less in your own IRA. But here's a big one. You can control many more things from a tax standpoint and from a safety standpoint. So we have a lot of clients, Heather, that'll come in, they'll say, hey, John, here's my 401k, and they have Vanguard mutual funds. I typically love Vanguard funds. I think they're inexpensive. They're very easy to understand. If the market goes good, you're probably going to do well. I mean, realistically. You still need to diversify. You still need to understand what you're investing in, but I like Vanguard overall. Now, when they say Vanguard mutual funds, no, I don't typically love mutual funds. Number one, they're a little bit more costly. Number two, you cannot hedge them. You can't put like stop losses or brakes on them. If the market's doing something really odd or weird, you have to physically go in and sell something, and you don't get that the moment that you sell it. You don't get that price. You have to wait till the end of the market day when everyone else has flooded the market with orders. And many times this could cost you percentage points, or in the case of retirement savings, maybe thousands of dollars, even tens of thousands of dollars in losses that you may have been able to avoid otherwise. So the way to do that, where you get mutual fund type diversification, but a much cheaper and much, in my opinion, sexier option, is to use exchange traded funds. So Vanguard offers what they call ETFs, exchange traded funds, that work just like a mutual fund, except you can put protections on them. You can use derivatives or put options. So if the market starts going down, you could potentially not sell that Vanguard ETF, but make money even as the market goes down further. What? Right. So the point is it that anyone should consider doing these things? Maybe, maybe not. The point is you cannot do that in a 401k, but you could potentially do that in your own self-directed IRA. And you can get those anywhere, right? Fidelity, Schwab, Vanguard themselves, T. Rowe, right? There's any number of places where you can get those, and you free up the 10% penalty. So if you try to take that money out or try to do this before age 59 and a half, you would typically pay a 10% penalty, right? That's why I say the IRS or government handcuffs come off. So 59 and a half is a good time to really look at another advisor, or not look at an advisor in general, get a second opinion. Does it make sense for you to maybe have a little bit more freedom with your money, potentially save some money on that deal by having lesser expensive exchange traded funds? But then more than that, you might be able to have a type of investment strategy that fits you a little bit more, right? Because you can invest in literally anything under the sun, from CDs at a local bank to a national bank to hedge funds or gold or commodities or anything you want, real estate for that matter. I got clients that say, hey, John, I think I want to buy this fourplex apartment complex. Can I do that in my 401k? Well, no. Well, could you do it in a self-directed IRA? You absolutely can. You can actually earn income from that fourplex. You absolutely can if you chose to do that. Do I think that's the world's greatest plan? Not for most of us. But for some people, does it make sense? Of course. So the fact that the government allows us at 59 and a half to do that, that may be a good time to seek out an advisor and find out, hey, what could I do? Does it make any sense to me? Is it going to put more money in my pocket? Maybe.
Okay, got it. Obviously, planning for retirement, saving for retirement, it doesn't begin at 59 and a half, but when it comes to seeking some advice for this next phase of your financial life, a lot of conversations do start at 59 and a half, but that's not where it ends, John, when it comes to age milestones.
Sure.
That we need to know about, things that happen in the retirement process over the course of between age 59 and a half all the way up to age 73. So let's go through. There was actually this article that was on Kiplinger talking about key milestone ages in retirement. So let's go through what those are and what people need to know in that space.
Yeah, so if you think about it, so 59 is kind of a starting point for a lot of these things, and the rest of them kind of follow suit. So if you're between 60 and 63, that's typically when the government allows us to do catch-ups for those 401ks, right? So anymore, I think in 2025 they changed it, so the limits, you can put up to an additional $11,250 of catch-up contributions if you're 60 to 63 extra inside those 401ks. That's great if it's money that you would be saving anyway for retirement. Now you can actually get tax deferral on those types of things. That would be great. So 60 to 63 is the next starting point. Now, somewhere in the middle of that, 62 is when you can start claiming Social Security. Now, here's the question. Should you? Everyone's going to be a little bit different, right? And it depends on when you want to retire, what your income is going to look like in retirement. But at age 62, you're typically allowed to file for Social Security benefits. You're going to have a smaller Social Security benefit than if you wait to full retirement age, which is usually 66 to 67, which is another date to consider. But 62 is the early filing opportunity. Some people out there, you actually should consider taking it early. Not everyone. You have to do the math on this. And this is another one of those situations where I think it's good to talk to a skilled fiduciary advisor to find out, does it mathematically make sense for you to take Social Security earlier, or should you wait? Because there's income that's a consideration, but there's taxes. Taxes are another major consideration on if you should take it early or if you should wait. Okay? So moving on down the age groups, age 65, most of us are aware, that's when we need to sign up for Medicare. Now, some people are still working. They don't need to utilize those medical benefits from Medicare, but you still need to apply for it. Even if you don't start taking the benefit, you still have to apply. There's a weird rule, 90 days before you turn 65 and 90 days after you turn 65, that if you don't apply those correctly, then it could actually lead to either penalties or more costs or things like that. So, again, another opportunity to talk to a Medicare specialist and or a skilled fiduciary advisor to find out, what should you look for? Should you turn it on? Should you keep with your company health care, whether you decide to retire or not? So 65 is a Medicare issue age. 70. Now, this is, most people talk, 70 was the year of required minimum distributions, or 70 and a half. Not anymore. That's down the road. 70 is the maximum age to get the top end of the Social Security benefit. So if you wanted to wait to age 71, 72, 73, 74, makes no difference.
No point,
You're not going to get a single dime more. At age 70 is the maximum amount. Now, depending on your situation, some people will make out like bandits if they wait to collect Social Security at age 70. But you got to last a long time, right? You got to typically live older than the national average for men and women, which is I think 83 and 86 respectively. So typically for you to max out and get the most money from Social Security, it's actually not at age 70, because a lot of us are going to pass away before then and we wouldn't have claimed as much money. So you want to do the math on that, but 70 is when you max out the possibility of that bucket of money. But like I said, we've done some math where some people have different ages of the spouses. Maybe there's a 6 or 7 or 8 year age difference between a husband and wife, and they both have longevity in the family. I was talking to one of our clients the other day, and I had forgotten this fact. She's 91. Her mother just passed away 2 years ago at the age of 109.
Wow.
109. I
Okay.
completely forgot that fact because her mother doesn't live in the area. She lived in Arizona. And I had forgotten, oh my gosh, that's right. There's so much longevity in your family. There's a great chance she could live well
Yeah.
past age 100. And this is why we plan for retirement, guys, right? We just want to make sure that as long as we're around, there's enough money to keep
right.
us kicking if we're still kicking, right? And then the last number, really, when you're looking at all these ages, is age 73. 73 is now the new age of when we have to, or required by law, to start taking required minimum distribution. So any money that we have in those IRA or 401k type accounts that's been tax deferred, the government says, hey, guys, you didn't give us any tax money all those years, and now we want it. So you're going to have to take out a little bit each year, no matter if you need it or you don't. And guys, if you've done a great job saving, if you got a few $1 million in those IRAs, that amount you have to pull out is not small. They put you in a completely different tax bracket. I had a client the other day is going to take a little bit over $320,000, $320,000 a year at the age of 73 for required minimum distributions. Does that put them in a different tax bracket?
Yes,
it actually
it
does. So we have to plan, and we've been planning for years around this gentleman, and we're still starting to plan for that because that can put you in a good situation, but it's still a problematic situation if we don't want to give it all to government. So if we focus on those dates and when we need to do things, those are also various times when you may want to consider getting a second opinion from an advisor just to find out if what you're doing is best for you or what the other alternatives are.
When it comes to financial planning for retirement, unfortunately, it's not easy. And the government is not here to help make anything more convenient, as case in point by all of these different rules and laws they have put on us. But keeping track of it all, you don't have to do this by yourself. John and his team at J. Hagan Capital, they are here to help you know the boxes you got to check throughout the years of retirement, because there's a lot of to-do lists, John. There's lots of boxes that we got to check off. And I know that people worry about missing something accidentally just because there's so much that we have to remember and keep up with.
Sure.
But,
and if you think about it, Ronald Reagan said the scariest 9 words in the American lexicon is, we're with the government and we're here to help. Reagan said, scariest 9 words in American culture.
well, fortunately, at J. Hagan Capital, they are actually here to help and are ready to help you. So if you have questions, let's get to work helping you get some answers. RetirementSolutionsShow.com is where to begin that conversation. You can also click on the links we've got posted in the show notes.